Alrighty, hello class, and welcome back to Let's Make Music, the music educational channel where we bring music lessons to you from home. Once again, I'm your instructor, Cody Hanna. I'm a multi-instrumentalist of about 15 years now, and I'm pursuing my bachelor's degree in music education. So, in our basic music theory series, we are on lesson 4. We're going to learn all about chords today. We're going to learn what a chord is, what the different kinds of chords are, how we build chords, and how chords are used in music. So first of all, what is a chord? So a chord is any harmonic collection of multiple notes that are played at the same time. It's a group of notes. The basic chord types that we're going to talk about today are triads, which you can infer by the name are made of 3 notes, and sevenths, which are made of 4 notes. So triads, their qualities can either be major, minor, augmented, or diminished. And the basic formula you want to follow for triads is root, third, and fifth. So when it comes to major triads, you can think of this as just root, third, fifth, and that is a helpful formula to get you where you need to go. But I find, especially when it comes to further down the road in music theory, when we get to analysis and harmonic progressions, it helps to know the intervals that create that chord. So we're going to go through that for each of these chords. So a major triad consists of the root note or our tonic note. So this is a C major triad. In the key of C major, our tonic is C. So your tonic and root those words are essentially interchangeable. So we have our C, which is our root note. Our next note is a major third above the root. And then the note after that is going to be a perfect fifth above the root. And you can take any note you want and plug that into that formula and get the major triad. So if I were to take, I don't know, A natural, and a major third above A is, hopefully you know this if you've been studying your scales, a major third above A is going to be C sharp, and then a perfect fifth above A is going to be E. So if we wanted to create that A major chord instead of a C major chord, that's the route we'd follow. So we'd have A, C sharp, and E, and that's our A major chord. For minor triads, instead of a major third, we're going to have a minor third. So that means that where we had an E natural in our major triad, this for a C minor triad, we're going to have an E flat here instead because we flatted that third and made it a minor interval. So we have the root C, minor third, E flat, and then perfect fifth G. For augmented triads, it's essentially just a major triad that has been made larger. It's been augmented, literally, by a half step. And we do that at the fifth. So for the augmented triads, we have our root note C here. We have our major third E natural. And then instead of the perfect fifth here, we have the augmented fifth. So we've raised that G natural up to G sharp, and that gives us an augmented triad. For diminished triads, we have to alter both the third and the fifth. So we have our C diminished triad here, right? C is going to be our root note, and then we have a minor third above C, which is going to be E flat, and then we have a diminished fifth, and that is going to be G flat instead of our perfect fifth, which was G natural. So how we did an augmented triad, we raised that G up. We're doing the opposite with diminished triads and lowering it down by a half step. So in every key, in every scale, like when we talked about scale degrees in our video on scales and keys, those scale degrees also correspond to the basic chords for that scale. So in major keys, our 1, our 4, and our 5 chords, our tonic, our subdominant, and our dominant chords, which are essentially the most important chords of our key, are going to be major. They have a major tonality, which creates that major key. The 2, the 3, and the 6 chords, however, are going to be minor. And the weirdo of this bunch is the 7th chord. So you can see that it has this little degree symbol right here. that symbol is just musical shorthand for telling us that we're playing a diminished chord. So the seventh chord of any major key is going to be diminished. So just know your important chords 1, 4, 5 in a major key are going to be major. Your 2, 3, and 6 are going to be minor, and your 7 is going to be diminished. Now in minor keys, that flips around a little bit. So in minor keys, chords 3, 6, and 7 are going to be major. And our important chords, our 1, our 4, and 5, are going to be minor because we want to create that minor tonality. And the weirdo in minor keys is the 2 chord. The 2 is going to be diminished in minor keys. All right, sevenths. So sevenths, because we're adding that extra note to our triad and creating a seventh chord, it gives us a couple more options for chord qualities. So seventh chords can be dominant, major, minor, augmented, fully diminished, or half diminished, and we'll get into what that means. But just like with our triads, the basic formula that you want to follow is root, third, fifth, and then seventh. And again, we ignore quality for right now until we get into the specific quality of seventh chords. So dominant sevenths, these are important chords to know because dominant sevenths tend to have the function of bringing us strongly back to our tonic chord or our tonic note. So when we build a dominant seventh, just like in our major triads, we had C, E, and G, root, major, third, perfect fifth, but we also have a minor seventh on top of that. And that minor seventh is what draws us back to a tonic. And so for this example, so we have a C dominant seven, right? C is the dominant of the F major scale. So this would be our chord that we would use to really push us back to F in that F major tonality. Basically, just know that this is a really strong chord that wants to go somewhere. And it's because of that minor seventh there that leads us back to a tonic, which in this case would be F. Major sevenths don't really have the same pull as dominant sevenths. They're a little bit more floaty and jazzy and a little bit less intent in their function. So we build a major seventh chord just like we did with a major triad. We have C, E, G, root, major third, perfect fifth, and then instead of a minor seventh like we did for our dominant chords, we're going to use a major seventh here. So instead of B flat, we have B natural. For minor sevenths, it's similar to how we would build the minor triad. We have C, the root, we have E flat, the minor third, perfect fifth, which is going to be G, and then we have a minor seventh on top, and that is what gives us that minor seven sound as opposed to a dominant seven. Because if we didn't have this minor third here, we would just be looking at a C dominant seven chord. But because we have this E flat here, it becomes a C minor seventh. Augmented sevenths, again, we're following a similar formula to what we did for augmented triads. So we have C, the root, E, the major third, G sharp, the augmented fifth. Remember that, that's what makes it an augmented chord. And then on top of that, we're going to have a minor seventh. So we have C, E, G sharp, B flat, and that makes up our C augmented seventh chord. All right, half diminished sevenths. This is a new concept, and sometimes depending on the style of music you'll play, you might see this as a minor seven flat five like here. You could also see it with that degree symbol that we were talking about earlier for diminished, but it'll have like a little slash through it, and that just means it's a half diminished chord. So we build a half diminished seventh the same way that we build a diminished triad. So we have root, C, we have E flat is our minor third, B flat is our diminished fifth, oh, sorry, G flat is our diminished fifth, and B flat is our minor seventh above that. So that's how we build our half diminished seventh chord. We haven't fully diminished the fifth. That's why it's only a half diminished. We've diminished, oh, sorry, we haven't fully diminished the seventh. We've diminished the fifth, but we haven't fully diminished this seventh. So we have, the basic building blocks of the diminished triad, the C, E flat, G flat. But when we add this B flat, it's just a minor seventh. It's not a diminished seventh, so we're not a fully diminished chord yet. We're only half diminished. So for diminished sevenths, we follow the same pattern as that half diminished seventh, except this note, the seventh, is diminished instead of a minor interval. So we have C, the root, E flat, the minor third, G flat, the diminished fifth, and then this is B double flat, which is essentially enharmonically equivalent. It sounds the same as an A. But that's what creates our fully diminished seventh chords as opposed to our half diminished seventh chords, is this note right here, that seventh being diminished instead of a minor interval. So how do we use chords in music? Basically, chords make up the harmonic basis of any piece of music that you'll find in the Western tradition. It's the backbone of the music, essentially. We also use chords in music theory as a way of analyzing the harmonic progression of a piece of music. So we can look at something that has a C to F to G chord progression, and we can analyze that in terms of their function and their scale degree, because those are kind of intertwined ideas. We were talking about how, the 1, the 4, and the 5 are really important chords and keys. We use that knowledge of chords and how they interact and lead to or away from each other in order to analyze how and why a piece of music works or doesn't work. So when we analyze chords, we give chords Roman numerals that correspond to the scale degree that they come from, right? And those Roman numerals represent both their quality, their function, and they also represent the root note. So in major keys, or for major chords, we have our Roman numerals here, 1, 4, 5. But whenever you write out Roman numerals for a major chord, we have to capitalize those Roman numerals. It's just the system of shorthand that we've come up with for doing this. So anytime you have a major chord, make sure that when you're writing out the Roman numeral for it, capitalize those Roman numerals. Because when we get to minor chords, those are all lowercase. And that's kind of how we tell the difference at a glance when we're analyzing a piece of music, whether that chord is major or minor. There's also, again, some extra symbols. Sometimes when you see an augmented chord, you'll see like a little plus sign by it, and that tells you, basically, hey, you're making it bigger, you're augmenting it. So you'll see this kind of shorthand from time to time. And then we already talked about the degree symbol for diminished and the slash through symbol for half diminished. And that brings us to the end of our lesson today on chords. I hope you guys learned all about triads and seventh chords. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more music lessons like this. Until next time, keep learning, keep practicing, and let's make music. Have a good one.